Welcome to UC Today with me, David Dungay. Today I have with me Mike Nowak from BCM One. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, David. How you feeling today?
I'm great, thank you. Well, today, Mike, we're going to be discussing hybrid working, in particular, a little bit around Microsoft Teams and some integration and DR stuff as well. I'm really excited to get into today's conversation. But before we get into that, can you give us a little bit of an introduction to BCM One and yourself, Mike?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. BCM One is a managed network services and next-gen voice communications service provider, primarily focusing efforts in the United States and Canada. We do have customers worldwide for our network services. But I'd say one of the more innovative groups, we build, own, and operate a lot of the services in-house. And that lends itself greatly to those that are in the midst of change and when you have to address emerging opportunities. On my side, I started my career at IBM and have always been in technical sales, always enjoyed the educational part of it. Being able to participate with our staff and other business partners, it's always been a joy to me and learning new things. So I'd say I'm very passionate about what we are going to talk about today and what we're going to be able to do together. So hopefully that's a short and sweet intro.
So you mentioned emerging opportunities there, Mike. Well, one emerging opportunity, or maybe not emerging, maybe it's here and now, is hybrid working. Huge trend for UC today. We're talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Tell us, what are you seeing? What are the trends you're seeing around this hybrid working piece right now?
Yeah, I mean it's the most important conversation I think that's happening on a day-to-day basis. Organizations, when the pandemic hit, I think were reactive, jumped into more of a short-term fix to keep going. Some folks were telling us that they were amazed at how quickly they were able to respond with such urgency. And now, as I see we get into 2021, it's really long-term planning. And so the conversation has shifted to what do we do to patch it together to this is a permanent thing. And some of the vertical markets are way off to the right in terms of making everyone work from home on a permanent basis. Others are on the other side of the spectrum where they're going to try to do a mix, and some just can't. But it depends on the vertical market. It's different, and I would say that folks are in the long-term planning strategy now. It's going to be here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of those long-term, I guess, considerations is how people unify their voice and their collaboration tools together. We're seeing Microsoft Teams. What a story that is in this market. But on the direct routing side, or on the integration side, we're seeing lots of traction as well with voice providers, such as yourself. But tell us, what makes a good Teams? Let's start with integration. What makes a good Teams integration, of service or product, if you like?
Yeah, I think the framework really starts with doing an assessment. I mean, I think that there's a risk and a problem that can occur, David, that folks see that the power of the collaboration tools of Teams, they jump into it, they get very excited about that, they start to use inter-office calling, video calling, and then they think that they can, that the phone system element is just going to fix all their call handling, needs and call recording, paging, intercom, etc. So I'm a huge fan of Teams. We've been training on it and teaching it nearly a year and a half now. But you have to assess what it can actually do from a call handling perspective. And you have to have a deep conversation on that. Again, there's ways that you can fill in gaps. That's what we do. But you have to have that deep consultative discussion up front. If you don't have that, the integration will be challenging.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen elsewhere in the market perhaps where maybe people haven't had that upfront conversation in great depth, or our customers getting caught out because they don't realise the call handling, the call routing or routing if you're in the States, what that means from a team's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in terms of, solving business problems. I mean, you always want to be solving problems where folks are not in pain, but we're doing cleanup work. And I think that's what's interesting is that folks have jumped into it and there's rogue behavior. And I think that's what's interesting. In organizations, you used to have a central command and control organization that would design your voice and data needs, and you have other organizations that are simply just turning on calling services. And then how do you manage it from a cost perspective, but how do you manage it from an inter-office dial flow perspective? So it's interesting. It's a lot of cleanup in some cases. Now we have some areas we can fix things quickly, but it's where there's some gross mishandling of applications that folks completely forgot. I mean, paging is one of them, or call center handling or call recording. I mean, those things can really hurt you if you don't have that dial plan discussion. So yeah, there's a lot of cleanup on it.
Yeah, and obviously DR or direct routing is the other avenue to voice in Teams, if you like. We're seeing huge take up across the globe, particularly here in the UK. I'm sure the States is a similar story. But what makes a good DR solution, and what are some of the subtle differences between, I guess, integration and DR?
I guess from a direct routing perspective, right, David? From a direct routing perspective, I mean, if you look at how Microsoft has enabled us with Teams, I mean, it's set up where you can get started quickly. And they've done a nice job with it, especially for very small users. But if you look at the Microsoft strategy, I don't see that the end-all investment goal is to develop fast porting teams and having a support center for trouble tickets and all the unique things that can happen with call flow. So Microsoft has been a big proponent of direct routing, and that's what we come in as. To be a direct routing provider, you really have to integrate with Microsoft. You have to do it through certified SBCs, and we jumped in very early. And really what's powering it is SIP trunking services. The SIP trunking services are what are connecting to those SBCs. And as someone that owns, operates, and develops SIP trunking services and certifies with a lot of providers, it was easy to do, and we jumped in with the leaders quickly and we're able to do it. Now, when you do direct routing, you can also open up the provider's playbook, those that have that, to fill in areas of need, right? Like the call recording capability in the call center or handling advanced call flows. Some direct routing providers have that, and they'll front end part of it with a UCaaS system. We do that in certain applications. And so you fill in that stuff and you make that UCC platform sing. So again, I think Microsoft takes it so far. I don't see them wanting to invest tremendously in having support centers and number porting teams and et cetera. And I think that's why they're encouraging folks like us to thrive with their platform.
Yeah, I mean, that ecosystem is so very important around this product. One thing I'm particularly interested in is the channel partner end of things. What are those challenges, I guess, for channel partners who are looking to deploy these end-to-end voice-enabled team solutions? Do your typical partners, do they have the right skill sets to do this end-to-end? What are some of the considerations that they need to think about there?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at the business partners that we have, they definitely have the skill set. The challenge is the curbing your excitement in some ways. Folks are getting hit with a bunch of opportunities, and if you don't go through the paces and you don't go through all the steps and you're not used to it, sometimes you miss stuff. And then the other piece that is really challenging to partners is that when there's an opportunity like Teams and you see this explosive growth opportunity, it pulls in all kinds of providers that don't have a lot of depth, and there can be mistakes made there and promises that aren't kept. So I would describe it as that most of the partners, the MSPs and the VARs and the consultative agents we have the skill set. It's just not always knowing what questions to ask. It's a bit it's new. It's new and it has some complexity to it, and you really have to go through the paces. But by and large, most MSPs, VARs, and consultative agents have the skills to do this, do it well. You just have to find the right partners and ask the right questions.
Okay, I mean, well, let's get to that point then. BCM One, you're providing a lot around this area. What are some of the differentiators you can bring to these companies you work with from a team's perspective, versus maybe some other providers in the market?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Anyone can build a good mousetrap, so it's with time and money, right? So there's going to be some players that continue to invest and do a good job. I think we've built one heck of a mousetrap ourselves. I mean, it comes down to the ability to execute and have done this. So this isn't a bolt-on. This isn't something that was licensed somewhere else. This was a practice that we built. And again, if you look at the key components of doing this, a lot of it is really just handling collaboration, communications, training, and setting the right expectations, and then supporting it. There's those areas that you really shine in. You have to be able to be very thorough in it and explain that to the market. So I think ability to execute is important. You have to have your sales organization, again, know where your strengths are, and there's some opportunities that you may say that's just it's a smaller application. It's better for a calling plan for Microsoft, or it's an alternative. So you got to know that. But I think it's a very deep bench, and ability to execute are key, and really customers, partners have to ask those questions and get down to your experience level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I think we're all aware of the size of the opportunity that Microsoft Teams is presenting the partner community. Looking forwards into 2021. We're in February, almost March now. What's exciting for you this year? What are you really looking forward to coming out of 2021? Other than a drink in a bar, obviously.
Yeah, I hope so. Goodness, it's been a long time. I think a little bit more, just a little bit more certainty. I predict we'll get a little bit more this year. 2020 caused a lot of challenges for many folks. It's an understatement, right? But I feel positive, and I feel that I see it every day working with our customers and partners, that there's a positivity in the air. Maybe folks see that a little bit more normal will be coming. And it's interesting what we've seen, and we'd like to be busy. We love solving problems and doing design work and implementing, and it really seemed like things have taken off, especially in the United States. Right after that inauguration period, things really just kind of took off, and it's just fun to be busy. I hope we continue to do that, and I hope we're going to expand our team, so I hope we can find some good folks to join us. So I'm just super excited about it. I think that the UCC and teams are going to be a big part of it, and it's going to be fun.
We don't know where this journey is going or where it's going to end, but it's we're all on it together. So on journeys though, Mike, I do want to ask you actually about migration journeys, right? Yeah. We're seeing a lot of people looking at their infrastructure, looking at the technology, and trying to make those long-term decisions. What are you seeing from that side? Are you seeing customers considering their migration journey, to alternative providers in the current situation? And what does that look like from a full UCaaS perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there's still a sizable amount of folks that are on old connectivity. If you think about the amount of legacy type fixed circuits that are still out there, they just don't bode well with virtual systems. And you see some folks that had some, just kind of put it off their plate, and now with the recognition you've got to support work from home. You've got to have scaling capabilities. You need to be flexible. Have to be able to address things like remote 911 zoning and emergency calling. I mean, it really has just put an emphasis on it that you cannot renew those legacy services, and you're going to have to use something much more fluid. It also has accelerated the need for over-the-top services. And what folks I find are doing, smaller organizations are quickly jumping into things, David. The larger ones, they really want to do it in pieces. And so we talk a lot about future-proof services, right? Let's maybe keep you on SIP trunking with your current phone system infrastructure, but maybe you want to do a hybrid where you're going to use that same SIP trunking account and move some departments over that will rely on the team's phone system, and then you talk about how they're going to call back and forth, and you plan that. But you do see in larger organizations, they're addressing it in different components and different phases. And again, those are fun conversations because I think you can really do it right, and you can do it over time, and you can really mitigate your risk if done right. So bigger organizations are jumping in, but they do it in pieces and parts, sometimes in phases. And I think we just need to respect that and support it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, Mike, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, David. It was great. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you like today's episode, please give us a like and a share on social media. And don't forget, you can catch all the action using the hashtag UC News. Thanks for watching.